Inhale. So now, that breath that we just took, it's God's breath.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You ready? Okay.
Because of a lot of stuff that's been going around, so to speak, every time I get into like a pinch, the thought, "It is well with my soul," always comes back into my mind.
I guess because I seen what the song did for a friend of mine. A very wonderful mother was diagnosed with cancer, and she had a husband and 3 beautiful children, an 8-month-old daughter, and she seen that she was dying, and it meant leaving behind. She was the one that was dying. And my brother-in-law asked her, "Can I sing a song for you in church so that the people know your heart in your cancer battle?" And she requested "It Is Well With My Soul." And her name was Ruth Thiessen, and so I dedicate this to you, Ruth Thiessen.
The account I want to share with you tonight is just such a story. It's about a family who, in the darkest moments of life, found the peace and hope that comes only from Christ. In mid-November 1873, an ocean liner, the Ville de Havre, set sail from New York, bound for France, with 313 passengers on board. One can imagine their festive Atlantic crossing with ribbons of red, swags of evergreen, and Christmas carols wafting through a dining room sparkling with candlelight. In a few days, they would make landfall in Europe, just in time for Christmas in Paris.
Even in the midst of the darkness, the black darkness of the tunnel, she held the lamp so that somebody else could find light.
What stood out to me was his faith, and after losing just about everything that he had, and still being able to put his faith in God and relying on Him, that He is in control, and still being able to write a song saying, "It is well with my soul."
At about 2 o'clock in the morning, they were suddenly jolted awake in their berths. Despite a clear and starry sky, the Ville de Havre had inexplicably collided with a LOEWEN, an iron-hulled Scottish clipper. Lifeboats quickly filled with people. Many passengers leapt into the icy waters. She held on to Bessie until her strength gave out. Her last memory was of little Tanetta in her lace nightgown, torn from her grasp, getting smaller and smaller until she too disappeared. So even after everything was like going through, and after she had like lost her husband, even though she could have given up, she could have said, "I'm not doing this anymore, I'm just gonna stop, I'm just gonna work a normal job, so to speak, and then just like keep trying to survive, trying to help the children." But instead of just thinking for herself, she was like, "No, we have to keep moving forward. We must keep helping others, or so we must like be able to help those who are in need." Because many times or so many people are in like worse situations as well, and which is incredibly strong too. Because could you imagine like going through like your darkest moments of life when you've just lost your husband, you've lost several of your children as well, and at the same time like the thought that's like in the back of your mind that says, "Give up, you should just stop right here and now, forget about everything else, just think about yourself for once," but instead choosing to go forward into like helping others too. True, none of you går stå med den dåligaste bubblan så men the andra be like, "Oh no, mina scarfs in here."
When peace like a river attendeth my way, thou hast taught me to say, "It is well, it is well with."
I think my favorite part of the song is verse 4. The verse says, "And Lord, haste the day when the faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend, even so it is well with my soul." And I think that's my favorite part, because that's the only way it can be well with our soul, if we focus on our final goal.
7 years later, Horatio himself too had died. Grieving once again, Anna Spafford had every reason to give up, but she did not. Every life has contradictions and imperfections, and hers was no exception. But when it mattered most, in her most profound spiritual crisis, when all seemed lost, Anna found the strength to move forward and to turn outward to continue the work she and her husband had begun.
And yet he could say, "It is well with my soul." And he couldn't say it out of himself. I'm 100% sure of that, because it has to be Jesus Christ.
The cello is a very worshipful instrument, and because it can go so deep and low, it can also be very mournful and resonate with the sound. That's why it's very fitting for this play.
We know that with everything that's going on in this world today, it's not going to get any easier, and that no matter what happens, with the diseases going around and many of the other hard things in the world, that they can really, from the bottom of their heart, say, "It is well with my soul," even though things around them will not be, and the rivers might be deep.
A child was born in Bethlehem, bringing peace on earth and goodwill toward men. Because of him and through his example, the human spirit can rise above tragedy whenever, however, we suffer our own night of sorrow. God's love does shine in the darkness. Hope can heal the wounded soul, and the Christian work of giving, of loving, serving, and of rescuing is ours if we choose to make it so. And as we do, we join with saints and angels to rejoice and sing, "It is well. It is well with my soul."
It's these songs that get us through those hard times. It's the hymns. It's those really powerfully written hymns that can get us through the hard times. So we need to learn these hymns in the good time.
My prayer would just be that they can pick up and build their faith, and not forget where these people, what they have gone through, from Horatio. And so that's one of my highlights, to look back at what is this song about? What have they gone through when they wrote this song? And so for me, that is very, very powerful.
And so when we have these words that are memorized and these melodies that are memorized in us, then they will be automatic in the hard times, and then we'll be able to worship. The Bible says we're supposed to offer sacrifices of praise. Well, when is praise a sacrifice? Praise is a sacrifice when you don't want to praise. Praise is a sacrifice when everything around you is telling you, give up. And you say, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to praise in the midst of the storm. And "It is well" for me is just that, praise in the midst of the storm.
It is well.